What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and baby, let's get into the drama of it all because we got a few things to talk about. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So first, let's talk about Erika Jayne. So the last time I talked about Erika, we talked about her cases that she's dealing with currently. We know she's being sued by Tom Girardi's bankruptcy trustee for $24 million. She's also being sued in separate states by the design team Marco Marco. One of the guys that lives in Florida is suing her for $300,000. The other guy that lives in California is suing her for $900,000. We also talked about Tom Girardi and how he was sentenced to 87 months in prison, which roughly, I think that is 7 years in federal prison, okay, for embezzlement and wire fraud. Well, a lot of people were curious to know like how Erika was doing now that Tom was sentenced. Well, it looks like her lawyer actually gave a statement on Erika's behalf, and this was captured by The Sun, but I'm getting this from Jay's reality blog. They actually posted a excerpt from The Sun. Now, if I can find the article, I'll definitely link it in the description box below. But let's get into it. So it says this: Erika Jayne spotted out after Tom's sentencing, and her lawyer Jim tells the U.S. The Sun, my bad, you guys. I'm used to it saying the U.S. Sun, but The Sun, how Erika is feeling. So it goes on to say Erika spent many years with Tom. She is experiencing a wave of emotions, and I'm sure she's emotionally destroyed, but there's a part of her that shuts off and compartmentalized. If someone you loved and trusted and everyone else told you to trust broke every bit of trust you had in them and didn't even tell you, covered it up, how would you feel? And then they ended it with hashtag RHOBH. I mean, I do think he makes a good case. Like, if she truly believed everything that he told her, and then this happened, then yeah. But I feel like, and I've said this before, that to me, I think there was a piece of Erika that felt like something wasn't right, but she probably couldn't put her finger on it. I am curious to know, with him being sentenced to 7 years in prison, does that affect her cases with the two designers, a part of Marco Marco, with the bankruptcy trustee? Like, does that automatically kind of give them like a way to win against her, or does it make it harder? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, clearly, but I just wonder. But I just wanted to give you guys an update since we've been following this case. So moving on, y'all, let's talk about Bronwyn. All right. So before we get into the mess about her, or this alleged tea about her, I do want to give my condolences. On June the 13th, Bronwyn actually made a post. Unfortunately, her father passed away. And recently I just saw the People magazine article. So I'm just going to read a little excerpt from it, but I will definitely link it in the description box below if you would like to read it in its entirety. But this is the headline. It says Bronwyn Newport mourns the death of wonderful father after sudden fall, a huge shock. It says Bronwyn Newport is grieving the loss of her father, David Richard Newport, who died on Friday, June the 13th, following a sudden fall and a rapid series of health complications. It says the Real Wives of Salt Lake City star 39 shared the sad news in an emotional post on her Insta story. It also states that he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and living in a memory care facility. Okay. So my condolences, truly, especially with, today being Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers that may watch me, as well as sending out positive vibes and, love to those who either don't have a relationship with their dad, and who potentially have lost their father. Parents are important, and it has to be a crushing blow to lose your father 2 days before Father's Day. So I do hope her family is doing okay. I hope they're surrounded in love, and I hope they were able to celebrate him and send him off, in style when it comes to their, the memorial ceremony, because I do know some people are opting to do that instead of a funeral. So now that we have spoken about that, let's talk about the mess, okay? It seems like there is a lot of things coming out about Bronwyn. And when it comes to blind items or people dropping in blogs DMs, that doesn't mean that all the things that they are getting are necessarily true. But it seems to be a lot of chatter when it comes to Miss Bronwyn. Like, it looks like when we get season 6 of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, it might be a rough season for her. The same way that season 19 of Real Housewives of Orange County seems to be a rough season for Katie. So I'm wondering, is there going to be a huge shift in the group the same way it seems like the group has kind of turned on Katie? But this is coming from Bravo Snark side. It seems like somebody DM'd the blog some tea and they're sharing it with us all. So it goes off like this. It says, allegedly, Bronwyn was thrown off the Utah Ballet Board for not paying or honoring her donations. There's been hella stories flying around Salt Lake that Big Daddy Todd isn't paying her bills anymore and she is stiffing charities. It goes on to say, my friend on the board said she was supposed to be chairing the gala and hadn't paid her dues or honored her donations, and they met and discussed that she's been doing this to other charities and threw her off the board. Again, all of this is alleged. All right. It's all alleged. And you also got to take everything you see when they post it on the blogs, especially if they don't have any factual proof, with a grain of salt. But I would not be surprised if someone brings this up. The same way when I spoke about what's going on with Brittany from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and how she's being sued by her ex-mother-in-law for $100,000. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please check out my playlist for the drama videos. I think it's the most recent or the second to most recent video where I spoke about Brittany in that situation. But I could see them bringing that up and throwing that in Brittany's face, just like I could see someone bringing this up and throwing it in Bronwyn's face, especially if she's getting into it with people. Because the 4 people I could see bringing this up would be Whitney, Heather, Lisa, or Angie. Those 4 women, especially Lisa and Whitney, because one thing about Whitney is a friend to nobody. So I could see her going off on Bronwyn, or not even going off on Bronwyn, just bringing it up so she can have something to talk about, because she always bringing offline stuff to the show. But if it is true, like this person said, where people are actually talking about this, their stories flying all around Salt Lake, somebody's gonna bring it up. But it's interesting to see this shift. Because like I said, Katie from Real Housewives of Orange County seems to be struggling. And this season is going to be a hard one for her. And it seems like Bronwyn's going to have a hard season as well. So next, y'all, let's talk about Traitors, the US version specifically, because season 4 cast has been revealed. And I was actually surprised by who I saw, okay? So let's talk about it, all right? So I do have a page 6 article linked in the description box below where you can read about everybody, but I just want to go through the list. So first up, we have Natalie Anderson. She's from The Amazing Race and Survivor. You then have, I think it's Yamil, aka Yama Arenko. He's from Survivor. Then we have Matt Balza. He's from Dancing with the Stars. We have my girl Candace Dillard Bassett from Real Housewives of Potomac. We also have Ron Funches. I love his voice acting. He has such a distinct voice. So I'm actually surprised that he is on this show. Okay. Because to me, I feel like Traitors is not for like people who I would deem like A-list celebrities. He's not A-list, but he's definitely like almost B-list because I've seen him in a lot of like sitcom shows. He does voice acting. I've seen him on Jimmy Kimmel and what's his other name? Is it James Fallon? Either way, I'm surprised that he's on this show. Okay. Next is Rob Crescino. He's from Survivor. We then have Miss Monet Exchange from RuPaul's Drag Race. I wonder how good Monet is going to do compared to Bob. But I feel like the difference between Monet and Bob is Monet is a lot more personable with the people. So I really do feel like she will go farther than Bob did. We have Stefan Coletti. He's from Laguna Beach and One Tree Hill. Then we have Marina Higgins from Love Island. I don't know who that is. We have Donna Kelsey, who is Jason and Travis Kelsey's mom. I don't know why she's here, but okay. We have Kristen Kish. She's from Top Shelf. Then we have Tara Lipinski, who is an Olympic figure skater. They allowed Dorinda to come back. So we have Miss Dorinda Medley from Real Housewives of New York. I wonder if Dorinda's going to go farther this season. We have Tiffany Mitchell from Big Brother. We have Eric Nam, who's a singer. I think he is let me make sure. Because I think he does K-pop. But I could be wrong. Let me look that up. Eric Nam. No, they say he's from South Korea. I think he does K-pop. They say he's an American singer, but I don't know no song from Eric. Not one. Okay. Then we have Michael Rappaport. I hope they get him kicked off the first, and I mean this, the first episode. Like, nobody wants to see Michael. He's not a good person. Have you seen his Twitter? Yeah. Next is Rob from Love Island, USA. This should be interesting because I think they're also doing Beyond the Villa, and I think he's on there, but I'm not sure. Our next housewife, we have Miss Lisa Rinna from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm interested to see if they kick Lisa out because you know that lady a snake, but I wonder if she'll be able to go far. Next is Miss Caroline Stanberry from Real Housewives of Dubai. Caroline said, girl, I'm going to get a check either way. My show may be canceled, but I'm here. Then we have Ian Terry from Big Brother. You have Colton Underwood from The Bachelor. Then we have another Olympic figure skater, Johnny, is it Weir? I think that's how you say his name. He will be there. And then last but not least, Miss Porsha Williams will be there for Real Housewives of Atlanta. So that is your cast for Traitors. Let me know how y'all feel. I'm not an avid watcher of Traitors. I normally kind of peek my head in closer to the end of the season, or if there's an episode that everyone's talking about, I'll go take a look at it on Peacock. But I'm not really into game shows like that. It depends. I do like competition shows, but I'm more of the person that's like Project Runway. You know, I like to see people make things. But yeah, let me know, like, are you interested in this cast? And who do you think will go far? And who do you think will get voted out first? All right. All right, y'all. So the next thing we can talk about is Real Housewives of New York and Brynn. So it looks like Brynn will not be returning for Real Housewives of New York season 16, which I'm like, is anybody truly surprised about that? I know I'm not. After what you did, girl. And even if she wasn't fired, even though I feel like she was, but let's say she wasn't fired, if I was her, I would just bow out gracefully and, turn in my 2 weeks notice and pack up my cubicle and leave. Because after what happened, there would be no way I would want to come back the next season to try to fight for these women to like believe me or to know that I'm not a liar when there is visual proof that is what you are and you need serious therapy. But let's get into her statement. So she posted this on June the 9th and it says this: A little life update. After a lot of thought, I've made the decision to walk away from reality TV for now. Last week, Hoppy, the dating app I co founded and proudly serve as the chief marketing officer, hit a massive download milestone. I can't even put into words how surreal it feels. All I want to do now is pour every ounce of energy into building Hoppy into the number one dating app in the world. The Real Housewives of New York will always be one of the most fun, chaotic, and magical chapters of my life. It was the honor of a lifetime to help reboot such an iconic franchise. From day one, I've believed Real Housewives of New York is a fan show. We're just temporarily custodians of something that truly belongs to the viewers. I hope I made you laugh a lot, cry a little, and more than anything, I hope there's a TV in heaven so my Mimi who lived for the show could watch me and be proud. To every person who gave me a chance, cheered me on, and afforded me love and grace. Thank you. I'm endlessly grateful. The good news is I'm just getting started. I've never felt more me than on my Spotify podcast. Please see below. And be prepared to laugh, cry, and possibly poop when you read my book coming out later this year. To date, I've only shared a fraction of who I am, what I've been through, and what I've learned. It's the most vulnerable thing I've ever written. She continues by saying, splitting my time between my London and New York City offices, building Hoppy alongside the most successful entrepreneurs, developers, and marketeers, creating the app where the good guys are, where dating feels fun, safe, and cool again, feels like a lifelong dream I never knew is coming true. As Shirley Sandberg said, if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. So here we go. And then she, seals it or ends the letter by saying, we're done dating his dad. It's time to steal his inheritance. XOXO, Brenny. So that was Brynn's statement. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Girl, she could have kept this. Like I said, I don't know who thought Brynn was coming back. After what she did, I could have told her, girl, they not allowing you back in the building. You're not coming back. The way that so many people were angry, they're not letting you back in the building, sis. So go pack up your cubicle and go home. So I really feel like I said she could have kept this. Well, a lot of people were like, did she walk away or did she get fired? Honestly, I didn't care if she walked away or if she got fired. But it looks like an insider told OK Magazine that nah, she got fired. And if I can find that article, I will link it in the description box below as well. But I'm just going to read what TV Deets posted. So it says this: insiders confirm Brynn Whitfield was fired from RHONY in the midst of the show being reworked. It says Brynn was definitely fired and did not walk away, as she's stating. A source tells OK Magazine, adding that the cast was surprised by the timing of the announcement. No one was expecting her to make this announcement now, and nobody knows why she randomly chose that day to break the news. No one really feels like they want to be around her or open themselves up to her, that sort of energy or friendship again. And they're not wrong to feel that way. They are not wrong to feel after what she did to Uba, and then the way, like honestly, even before what she did with Uba, the way we saw Brynn spin narratives and like lie so easily, I wouldn't trust her or want to be around her either unless I had a tape recorder in my bag, unless my phone was on record, because I would record every conversation just to make sure like I wasn't going crazy, because she's a great gaslighter if you ask me. Okay. So continuing on with Real Housewives of New York, let's talk about them reworking this cast, because I've been hearing that a lot, and allegedly we're supposed to get 3 newbies joining. So this was coming from Dorinda Deadly, and it says this: Real Housewives of New York is set to undergo somewhat a mini revamp, with allegedly 3 newbies joining the returning cast. So it looks like Jenna Lyons is coming back. Boo. We have Jessel, Sai, Aaron, and Raquel. So I think Uba's out. I just saw that Uba is getting engaged or is engaged. Okay, so shout out to her. Oliver popped the question, and more than likely she said yes. But I think losing Brynn and Uba would probably be good for this show. Honestly, if we lost Jenna, I would be happier. But I think Uba to me was too hot-headed. It just seemed like she always was in a confrontational mood. And I also don't feel like she was happy being on the show anymore. Brynn, I'm glad she gone. She lied too much and she's a dangerous she a dangerous person to be around, okay? But I wonder who they're gonna add to the cast if it is true that they are auditioning 3 newbies. And I'm hoping that the 3 newbies bring new flavor to this show because that's what's missing. If you want to be honest, like nobody on this show is truly a star. Nobody is that interesting, and we need people who are gonna get the girls in gear, get the girls in motion. So I'm hoping the 3 new girls we get are open, they're authentic, and they're not too obsessed with their image, because that's what's wrong with the cast that we have now. None of them really want to play the housewives game, and that's why they're not interesting anymore. But we'll see what these 3 new ladies bring if it is true that they're auditioning 3 newbies. All right, y'all. So let's talk about Shannon Beador. So Shannon was on Watch What Happens Live with Sidora last Sunday. And there were 3 clips that I saw that I thought was interesting that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So the first clip I'm going to play for you is Shannon being asked, how different is Gretchen compared to Alexis being a part of the group? I got Real Housewives of Miami on my brain right now, okay? Then the second clip is going to be Shannon speaking about her lawsuit with John Jansen and giving us an update about that. And then the last clip we're going to talk about is Andy asking, or them playing this game, who do you think has little dick energy? And her response to that question got her into some hot water with Tamra Judge. So let me play the first clip for you guys.
Doing acclimating with the group compared to Alexis last season?
Oh, well, it's night and day.
Oh, good.
But I think she's great. She's been nothing but kind to me, and I don't know if you've seen anything, but I think she's been a great addition to the show. So I'm excited to have her there.
So I wasn't surprised by Shannon's answer. I would have been surprised if she had an opposite answer, mainly because Gretchen seems to get along with everybody in the group except for Tamra. Like, she's still cool with Heather and Shannon. She created a relationship with Katie and Jen on the off seasons. It's like the only people she doesn't really have a connection to, it would probably be Tamra and Gina, because I think she's also friends with Emily. So for me, I expect her to definitely have a better experience with this group than Alexis, as well as Gretchen already has a family. I think she's married to Slade. I don't really know, but her and Slade are together. They have a daughter. Like, she's not looking for something. Whereas you have Alexis, whose mom died, then next thing you know, here comes Johnny J. Ugh. And it's like she was searching for somebody to fill that void, and that's what he did. So, and I also feel like she just wanted an issue with Shannon. Like, that lady was such a pick-me. It was gross. It was actually nauseating seeing the way that Alexia behaved. It wasn't even like funny, ha. It was funny weird with her. Okay? So the next clip I want to play for you guys is Shannon giving an update as to where she's at in the case with Johnny J. Ugh.
The Johnny J lawsuit and everything is over.
Done, yeah, I paid him. And I paid him, so there's no reason to talk about me anymore. So we're done.
And is he still talking about you? No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. So I'm grateful for that.
Good. Yeah. How much did you wind up having to pay?
$60,000. And you know what I did? I took I went to the bank and got the wire, and I redacted all the account information, and it said payment in full, and I circled it and I put it on Instagram and I tagged them and I wrote enjoy. Yep, that's the way to do it.
Like, I genuinely hate that Shannon had to pay him back, but I feel as though if she did agree to pay John back, then give the man back his money so he can leave you alone. I just think the way that John and Alexis went about trying to smear Shannon's name, it was just nasty work. And it showed more of their character than Shannon's. Like, granted, we know Shannon is a wounded bird. You know, she always going through something. But I just felt like the way that Alexis, was attacking Shannon on John's behalf just made her look like such a pick me bird heifer. And it's like, girl, you too grown for this. But I also, like I said before, feel like John knew that like Alexis was vulnerable because he came around the time that she lost her mother. And I guess they have such a beautiful relationship that loss really affected her. So I feel like she was more inclined to entertain being with John. But I just feel like the energy she gave Shannon was not warranted. But I also feel like, bro, you look like a loser to a lot of people that you needed to harass this lady to get your money back. So I'm glad that she washed her hands clean of them and we don't have to see them ever again. So the last clip from Watch What Happens Live I'm going to play for you guys is a game that Shannon plays with Andy where he ends up asking her which cast member's husband has small dick energy. Okay, so let's get into that.
Shannon, who gives off the most small dick energy? Terry, Shane, Eddie, Travis, Ryan, or Slade? Men of OC.
Oh, this is, God, can I plead the fifth?
Oh, no, that's
This, I'm going to say Eddie.
Okay.
Okay, bring it
I
on.
have a feeling we're going to be hearing about this.
Honestly, if I was Shannon, I don't think I would have answered this. I feel like I probably would have been like, "Oh, can we talk about who gives the most big dick energy?" But I definitely wouldn't have said, I wouldn't have named somebody for little dick energy, only because I wouldn't want that type of problems with any of my cast members, and then I wouldn't want the husbands trying to like ask me like for real, like why would you name me? I probably would have been like, "Can we talk about who gives the most big dick energy?" And maybe that would have sufficed for the answer. But I knew when she said Eddie, Tamara was coming in like 3 seconds, and I know Shannon knew because that's why Shannon was like, "Bring it on." I said, "Come on, Miss Shannon." So Tamara was in her Insta stories responding back to Shannon. So she posted this first. She said, "Ask Shannon Beador," and she put a clown emoji beside her name. Then she posted the slang definition for small dick energy, and it says this: small dick energy is a slang term that refers to a lack of confidence and a tendency to act in a petty or insecure way, often with a focus on drawing attention to oneself. It's not directly related to the person's physical attributes, but rather to their demeanor and behavior. And so then Tamara also posted, "Yeah, that's really sounds like at Eddie Judge. You might want to check your pants." So then the next thing she posted was, "At least I can keep a D," and then she put eggplants emojis. Tamara, that was such a weak read because keeping a man isn't a flex anymore. Men are trash. Okay? The dating pool has battery acid and piss in it, lady. We all trying to find somebody and can't find and want somebody good enough. So even being like, "At least I can keep a man," girl, the streets have been saying Eddie ain't wanted you in a while. Okay, between the people questioning that man's sexuality, which I don't think is right, and them saying that he genuinely is tired of you and wants to move to Big Bear, I wouldn't be trying to flex, because the moment you say something like this, next thing you know, next season you getting a divorce. So I keep it cute. And it seems like, I won't call it a rant, but her posting continued, because then she posted on Twitter and she said this: "If being the villain means telling the truth, I'll wear that title proudly. Season 19 of RHOC premieres Thursday, July the 10th on Bravo TV." So there you have it. I'm excited for Real Housewives of OC. I definitely hope that Shannon isn't backing down from Tamara. Like, girl, you have the fan base, you have the pool, and you have every right to check that lady when she comes for you, okay? And I hope Tamara is still going to be a governor snipe, because they make great TV. So let's move on to our next topic. So moving on, y'all, we got to get into Real Housewives of Atlanta because we got a lot of stuff that's going on. Okay, it's a lot of stuff going on. All right, from Kim and Croy being like forced to move out of that foreclosed mansion, to Simon and Porsha's divorce being, made final, to Ralph crashing out for like the past 3 days and showing his ass. Okay, we got to get into it. Okay, so let's get into it. All right. So first, let's talk about Kim and Croy. So this was posted by Bravo Snarkside, and they got it from page 6. And if I can find the article, y'all know I'll put it in the description box below. Okay. So it says this: Kim Zolciak and Croy Biermann forced to move out of foreclosed mansion by U.S. Marshals. It says Kim Zolciak and her estranged husband, Croy Biermann, were forced to move out of their foreclosed Georgia mansion by U.S. Marshals. The new owners of the Atlanta estate began the process of legally removing the former couple from the home last December, according to new court documents obtained by page 6. In a filing, the new owners stated that the former Real Housewives of Atlanta star and the ex-NFL player hold the premises over and beyond the term of which they rented to them. They also claim that Biermann, 39, and Zolciak, 47, have already been served the papers for the proceedings against a tenant holding over. It says after the first few filings from the new owners went unanswered by the estranged couple, the U.S. Marshals intervened and removed them from the home on April the 8th. According to the filing, 4 deputy marshals ejected Zolciak and Biermann from the Atlanta mansion from 3:30 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. In November of 2024, page 6 exclusively reported that Zolciak begun the moving out process before it was set to hit the foreclosed auctions. At that time, TMZ spotted moving trucks outside the home. However, it's unclear whether the mom of 6 returned to the mansion or if she and Biermann have fully moved out. Girl, I'm gonna be honest, I'm glad they kicked them people out. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because the way every time I saw something about Kim and Croy on the blogs, it always gave like ID channel or snapped. I always felt either she was going to hurt him or he was going to hurt her, because every time I would see body cam footage, they both gave very like erratic tease. And I said, this is very toxic and volatile. There are young kids, kids that are like in middle school and high school in this house. I'm gonna need somebody to do something. Get the kids, somebody. So I'm glad they don't have to live together anymore. Hopefully this speeds up the process of the divorce, because honestly, it feels like they've been getting a divorce for the past like 7 or 8 years, if you ask me. I would have thought they had already been divorced by now, but we'll see what happens next. I do know Kim is probably going to be in the media a lot more. We know her youngest daughter, well, not her youngest daughter, but from her previous relationship, is it Adriana? No, I think it's Ariana. She's on that new Bravo show, Next Gen. And it looks like Kim and her oldest daughter, Brielle, are going to be on a new reality show that is featured on E! Entertainment called Botched Plastic Surgery Rewind, where people basically grapple with their body image as well as come to terms with who they are or if they're going to continue getting plastic surgery. So next, y'all, let's talk about Porsha. This was posted on June the 12th. It says exclusive. Real Housewives of Atlanta star Porsha Williams scored a win in her divorce battle with ex Simon Guobadia after a judge ruled in her favor to enforce their prenup, U.S. Weekly can report. Now, I'm not going to read the U.S. Weekly article because it really didn't have what I was looking for, but I did see that Baller Alert posted an article, so I'm going to read that one. All right, so let's get into it. So the title of the article goes, Porsha Williams keeps Rolls Royce, wins $40,000 monthly in divorce from Simon Guobadia. It says Porsha Williams just came out on top in her divorce from Simon Guobadia, and the judge's ruling is hitting his pockets hard. The court upheld the couple's prenuptial agreement, awarding the Real Housewives of Atlanta star everything she fought for and then some. It says Williams, who filed for divorce after just over a year of marriage, asked the courts to enforce the terms of their prenup. That agreement, which Guobadia tried to contest, included monthly alimony, division of property, and legal cost coverage. Sources close to the case revealed that Guobadia has now been ordered to pay Porsha $40,000 a month in spousal support for the next 14 to 15 months. In addition to that cash, she'll retain full ownership of the Rolls Royce he gifted to her during their brief marriage. The ruling also concludes legal fees, with the court deciding that Guobadia must cover all of Williams' attorney's costs. As for their multi-million-dollar home in Buckhead, it remains as a joint asset, at least for now. Guobadia retains a 50% stake in the property since it was purchased before the marriage. However, Williams has the exclusive rights to refinance and buy him out any time before 2027. Until then, he's responsible for the mortgage and all of the associated expenses. Guobadia attempted to challenge the prenup, accusing Williams of being dishonest during negotiations. He claimed that she failed to disclose her plans to return to RHOA, arguing that the information would have altered the deal. The court didn't buy it. Williams maintained that the agreement was discussed and finalized over time, not under pressure or false pretenses. Though she didn't appear in person for the hearing, Williams was granted permission to attend virtually. Her legal team explained that she recently accepted a job opportunity to help manage the financial strain from unpaid obligations Guobadia had ignored under the temporary order. The court approved her request, recognizing her need to balance work with ongoing legal matters. Despite the rulings, insiders say Guobadia is currently considered filing an appeal, and he has 30 days to do so. For now, it looks like Porsha is walking away with a solid win, a luxury car in her name, and her ex footing the bill. So I'm going to be honest, when I saw this, I was gagged. And the reason why is because while I've been like reporting about all this stuff that's been coming out on the blogs about Simon and Porsha and their divorce and him, getting deported and everything, I legit have always said that I don't think Porsha is going to get what she thinks she's going to get out of this divorce. So when I saw this headline, I was like, oh crap. She did that. And then I also don't have the best view of Porsha when it comes to like her intellect and like her morals and character. When it comes to look, that's a beautiful lady. But everything else, I'm kind of like, I don't know about you, ma'am. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, she won. Like Simon got deported. She's getting $40,000 a month. And the reason why they kicked it up is because when she was married to Simon, he was supposedly giving her $30,000 a month. So now, based off of the prenup, it increased to $40,000 a month for the next year and a couple of months. She gets to keep the Rolls Royce, and she gets to film in the house. And if she wants to stay there, she has to refinance the house by the year 2027. And so I was like, girl, you won. But then I started to see like other fellow content creators like Andrew Gabor, Rodney the Voice, Jamie That's Me, and Erika De Niro talk about how are they going to enforce this prenup or this ruling by the judge, and he's deported in Nigeria. And then I saw a couple of my mutuals on Twitter saying the exact same thing. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh crap, she really didn't win. How are they going to enforce this? It's the same reason why we see so many people who get caught up over here run to Bali or Thailand, because they don't extradite people. It's the same reason why we've seen a lot of revolutionaries and activists run to Cuba and other countries doing the same thing, like Thailand, where they don't enforce other governments' rulings and they don't extradite people. So I'm like, he's in Nigeria. How are they going to enforce him to pay this $40,000 a month to Porsha, as well as pay her legal fees? And the truth of the matter is, I don't think they can. And honestly, it's not going to happen for Porsha. I actually went to Google and I put in, does Nigeria enforce U.S. rulings? And this is what popped up for me. The link to the article that I'm reading is in the description box below. It's right underneath the article that I read from Baller Alert about Porsha and Simon. But it says this: foreign judgments can only be enforced under the ordinance and the act upon registration of the same by a superior Nigerian court. Another website said this: through a Nigerian high court, either by a way of an action of common law or by reciprocal enforcement. And basically saying that Porsha would actually have to get a lawyer over there in Nigeria to pretty much argue on her behalf that this should be instated. So it's basically, to me, starting the process all over again. So I guess Porsha won in a sense on paper, but in all actuality, she didn't really win anything. And if Simon was smart, he would stop trying to find his way back in this country. Because I do believe if he does get back in here, he will have to pay her that money, or he will be sitting back in that ICE detention center or possibly prison. Okay? Because Simon is still talking about he wants to have a sit down with Donald Trump in order to talk about ICE and possibly getting his way back into the country. So let me read this from the Bravo Shade Room. But it says this: Simon Guobadia's message to Donald Trump after ICE custody: I don't have any animosity. He says, Donnie, I like to refer to him. We are very similar. The businessman told the U.S. We are both Geminis, and some of his antics, I certainly can understand it. Sometimes I would say that we're misunderstood. Lies you tell from the pits of hell. He goes on to say, I don't have any animosity towards the situation. I don't have any problems with Donald Trump. Like any other CEO or chief executive who I am, we look to hire the best people we can find. And the issues that he's dealing with are no different than any other organization. Guobadia said, I feel that I have a very unique perspective on this situation, considering that I was there for as long as I was. And there are so many things that I saw that I feel that I can help the administration with, he continued. Guobadia noted that he has no plans to fight to get back into America, but if the opportunity came, he would come. It goes on to say, as U.S. previously reported, Guobadia, who has issues with his citizenship, was taken into custody in February after flying into America. He was taken to a facility 2 hours outside of Atlanta, where he was kept isolated from others for a portion of his time inside. I understand why people would kill themselves, but I'm too strong to do that. But I understand why. When you are put in a certain mental headspace, you start to understand why people do what they do, he told U.S. He described the food as terrible and said the facilities were overcrowded and poorly staffed. Guobadia said that the detainees are left in limbo and provide no real updates on their cases. He said he was only told he was being released 2 weeks before. Guobadia tells the U.S. that despite the deportation, he is excited for the future. If I was Simon, I would stay in Nigeria, find a way to be a scamming businessman over there. I mean, I get some people wanting to come to America, but with the way this administration is going, girl, stay where you at. Stay where you at. So the last thing we're going to talk about is Ralph and Drew. Ralph has been crashing out since Tuesday, all because Drew was on the Angela Yee podcast and she was asked a couple of questions about Ralph. And one of them was like, do you know if Ralph is dating? Are you dating? And she basically said that Ralph has actually had women in the basement, and one of the women she actually met at her daughter's school, and the lady actually admitted that she has worked out with Ralph in the basement on her treadmill. So when Ralph saw this, he decided to crash out, and he's been crashing out since Tuesday. So this was posted by the Bravo Snark side. It says Ralph Pittman calling out estranged wife Drew Sidora for on-screen lies. Post screenshots of their conversation. So he tweeted this out saying, Drew, you're extremely disrespectful. The only reason I'm in the basement is because you lied and said I'm abusing my son. Now you're lying about me bringing a woman in the house. This is what truth looks like. I can keep going, looking desperate, SMH. So he posted this text message conversation, which to me didn't really make sense. And the reason why I say that is I read it and I'm like, is this a conversation that Ralph is having with Drew, or is this a conversation that Drew is having with somebody else and they screenshotted it and sent it to Ralph? Or did Ralph copy Drew's phone and he is uploading like her text messages? Because this does not seem like a conversation that Ralph is having with Drew. This seems like a conversation that Drew is having with somebody else, and they sent out the text messages. Because in the text message, one of the text messages says, he said he started talking back to girls he had cut off while dealing with me. So I don't know if this is Drew talking to Ralph and talking about Black, or if this is Drew again having a conversation with somebody else, but it's weird. So then the next slide of the slideshow, you got Ralph saying Drew is dealing with Black sexually and trying to get back with me. Most of the things you saw on TV were fabricated. I played the bad guy for Drew to keep her peach, and now she's taking it too far. Tampa didn't happen the way y'all thought. She had my location on the phone. So then he shows another screenshot where I guess it's a conversation between Ralph and Drew, where I guess they're talking about him being in Tampa, or her trying to cuff Mr. Black, because it says, are you cuffing me, Miss Sidora? And Drew said, consider yourself cuffed, baby. And then somebody says, don't be selfish. I know what's up. Okay, Mr. Black. So again, did Ralph copy her phone, or has someone taken Drew's phone and then sent screenshots? Because this is weird. So the next slide said, I advised Drew to stop lying and speaking negatively about my character integrity and or they're discrediting my name. This bad guy storyline was successfully used every season, and now it's time to say goodbye. Hashtag RHOA. And my thing about it is, Ralph, she doesn't have to use you for a storyline. You show yourself to be a dick. And if anything, why would you allow your character to be played with, and why would you go along with this type of storyline? So he kept going, and he decided to post receipts that Drew was having a, I guess, intimate relationship with Ty. So Ralph said this on Twitter. He says, it's crazy how I'm called a serial treater with no receipts when the affair that ended our marriage is denied, like explicit details haven't been out there for years. Keep crying for the camera and telling your fake truth, but don't confuse acting with innocence. Hashtag RHOA. And basically it is conversations between Ty and Drew, and video clips and stuff. And then he also posted other pictures of them, and it does look like they was a couple and messing with each other. Do I care? No. Girl, cheat back. All right. If you ask me. So then Ralph continued on by saying, spoiler alert, Tampa was fabricated so Drew could keep her peach. I played the bad guy to show she would have a storyline and make a comeback as an actress. It worked, but it was unexpected that she would cheat on me and lie saying I cheated on her. Okay, Ralph. So then Drew responded, because he posted this on Instagram by saying, he really is trying to earn his peach today, huh? My producer at Marcus Byrne Official wouldn't fabricate or follow fake stories. He was the person who found out Ralph was in Tampa and told me because we were supposed to get COVID tested. So then Ralph responded to that by saying, for the record, I have no malice towards any man or woman for taking what's thrown at them. I heard and saw the extortion play, and it's a cold world. Okay, Ralph. Okay. So then the last tweet I saw from Ralph was this. Let's be clear. Tampa was resolved before we started filming. Hashtag RHOA. Our first day of filming was our actual anniversary, which was August the 21st. On camera, you saw a fabricated reenactment for TV that involved into the villain versus the damsel narrative. After filming, we celebrated our anniversary and went to Chateau Elon. The first text shows exactly where I was, why I left, and how I felt in my tone. The second text is from our producer for the first day of filming. The third text is the date of the video. So that's the last thing I saw from Ralph. And then on Friday the 13th, I saw Kenya post this, and this is coming from the RHOA Talk. It said, Kenya calls out Ralph after posting tweets about Drew. Hashtag RHOA. She said, corny snitch, you lost. Now take your corny receipts and go away. So here's the thing. Ralph is a loser, and I agree with Kenya. You lost. Why are you doing this? And the truth is, I really feel like Ralph spiraled out is because he was waiting for something to get the people talking, and nothing he posted got people on his side. Everybody was just like, okay, Ralph. The only people that were going up for Ralph were probably the Porsha fans that don't like her and the pick-me's that like Ralph. And considering I'm not a fan of Porsha or Drew, I looked at this like, okay, you lame as hell, bro. You're lame. You lost. Get over it. Move on. And I think what bothers Ralph is the fact that he's so used to people liking him to a certain extent or being able to subvert the narrative when it comes to Drew, that now that we have a clear, I won't say a clear picture, I would say we have a half clear picture, and what we're seeing is, dude, you're an ass wipe. No one cares what you have to say, Ralph. So let it be. And this rant was just pathetic and sad. But that's all I got for y'all today. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts with me. And subscribe and like the video. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.